All right, what's going on, guys? So long time no see. Coming with you today with a brand new video, and let's get into it. All right, so there's my baby. As you just saw, trans is out of her. All right, real dirty. So we're gonna kind of go through and show you what we're gonna put in this minus the torque converter, because we'll explain that in a minute. So starting over here in this box, this is all of our our seals and gaskets. And they gave you another one of these. Don't really know why, but yeah. So we got two of those, and then the shift kit, which I already have one of these in my truck, but there is something different about it with this kit. This is all for your pump, and then some other springs for your valve body. Some new bushings for the, I'm pretty sure that's the input shaft, if I do believe. And then that's a Park Paul spring return. Filters. All the bearings. All new bearings going in it. And then this is a limitless kit. And new backing plates. A spacer for your one of your planetaries. Forget which one. And then we got, that's C1 there. And then that should be C3.
Yep. All new steels and filters.
Yep. And then here,
C2, C4.
another backing plate. And that is that's C2. And that should be C4, and then all our apply pistons and return springs. So we're gonna get those soaking, and we'll start tearing into the trans.
All right, so we got Kevin here taking the output shaft nut off. And I'm going to take the tail housing off. But when you do this, you want to put the transmission in park. That way you have access to take that nut off. And when you take this tail housing off, it'll pop up about a 1/4 inch because it's spring loaded. You see it just popped. There's tail housing. These are the springs that we were talking about.
We'll push it up. This doesn't matter because they gave us a new one. Little bastard. Don't need that. And pay close attention to this. This is what puts the truck in park. Take those.
See, we're keeping organized here. Got everything on a table. Just line it up as you go. Easy to keep track.
This is, what's this? This is C5. Yep. This is your, or P5 planetary gear, I should say. Bearings will fall out of all over the place. I just kind of set them back. Son of a bitch.
Unbelievable. Easy there, Scooter.
I know.
Man, look how burnt that is, dude.
Yeah. So pull that out. Yeah, that actually looks pretty good. These, you'll see. Let me try and find one. You can kind of see it. There's like little dark spots on this. Well, that's because my hands are dirty as shit. But yeah, right there. It looks like it's burnt, but they're actually not burnt. It's just from clutch material building up in that spot over time.
This is our steel spacer plate here. It's kind of hard to pull that out with one hand. All right, so now in here, you'll see these springs in here. These are kind of tricky to get out, but you want to make sure you use a screwdriver and keep your fingers out of the way.
That is your C4 backing plate. That gets replaced. There's a new one in the kit. We are entering C4 here. Pulling that girl out. Okay. Now,
and this is that.
Yeah, that's a plastic little, it goes on the bottom there.
Remember, there's some bearings in there.
Yep. These are your clutch packs for C4. New ones are not slotted. You can see. Yeah. They're glossed over pretty good. It's got some heat in that one.
You got some wear marks here.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes through the whole stack.
So
we'll see how it looks as we get down lower.
All right, this is your C4 apply piston, and that is the last thing on this side of the case. So we're gonna flip her over here, and we'll catch back up with you. Where at? All right. So you got to remove. Well, that's the upper, but you're supposed to remove that one. But we are doing aftermarket transmission lines, so we're just gonna take them both out. But to do this, you do have to take out the one he's taking out now. All right, so another thing to note, these two lower ones at the very bottom, you can see them there, they got the copper washers on them. So now we're gonna take out those 10 inside bolts.
Connected to the pump.
And then these,
We'll pop these out.
these all have these O-rings on them, and that's kind of could pull off. And if it doesn't, oh, you did not. So
So
just
this
set
off right here.
That's fine. So that's got. So your torque converter, those are two different like pieces that kind of go into it. Your input shaft, and then your what is that? It's your stator fucking shaft for your pump or whatever. So we'll just kind of set this aside.
Oh, yeah. Beauty. Pretty hard to mix up where these bolts go.
Mm-hmm. Then that should pull off. Then that you can set that up on the table if you want. And then that separator plate deal will come off.
Gaskets off too.
Yeah, that one's stuck on there. I tried. So we'll get that off here in a little bit. And then this is your pump. It's your bracket or your I don't even know, it's like a wear plate deal. And then your actual pump gears, just like an oil, well, it is an oil pump technically.
I'm trying to remove this piece here.
Your actual pump. Nice little tap on some wood, cardboard, so it don't screw anything up. And it'll come right out. So we'll set this guy up here, and I already see this isn't good. We might have to get a new pump for this. So we'll show you that here in a minute.
Now, worst case scenario you see.
Yeah, this is kind of something you don't want to see. So you can see all those scoring marks in here, which match up to all those score marks on that outer pump gear. Hold on, do that again with your nail. They might be able to pick that sound up. You guys might be able to hear this. Yeah, shouldn't sound like that. And then you can see where it had been wearing into that backing plate there.
Right in here.
Yep, it's mainly right in here. And then the same thing with this gear. The only part's on this face. So we're gonna have to go ahead and. All right, so we just got off the phone with our local Allison dealership, and they don't have one in stock, but they said they could get it here in like 3 days if we expedite it. It would be here hopefully Friday. So that's probably what we're gonna end up doing. So we're gonna continue on with this.
This part, remove the. This is a P1 planetary gear, right?
No, this is your C2 drum assembly deal.
All right.
C1 and 2, C something. Don't quote us on any of the shit. We just kind of know how it goes. When you're tearing this apart, so you got to take this apart. We'll show you that once we get the trans completely tore down, but it helps to put that input shaft back in that torque converter like that when you're working on it, because there's this snap ring here that comes out, and then this whole, you'll see. You guys will see.
All right.
Next, we got a couple more snap rings here. Well, I shouldn't say a couple. We got one more. Pick your weapons. This fucker die? Yep. All right. Our light died, so it might be a little dark. But kind of the same deal as last one. Get in there and try and start getting around it. It's not the easiest thing in the world. Earlier when we said, let me start this. So earlier when we said we don't got any special tools, really mean it. So you saw those little return spring cages. So there's one of those way down that bottom. You can't really see it. So what we did is we took ourselves a piece of wood from a pallet and cut it, and then you set it right there like that, and you take yourself good old trusty ratchet strap, go down, gets it through, just like that, and you take the spring pressure off it, and it makes going back together way easier. And you'll see that once we get putting it back together, because you got to put it together and take it apart a bunch of times and check clearances. But so yeah, little trick here.
Make sure it's centered.
Yep, make sure that's kind of centered in there.
Good.
Good. Hold on. Yeah, you're good. Center. So you can see it pulled. You can see a little bit of gap there. It actually pulled that spring cage down. So now we're just, all right. Got a little pick. There you go. Once you get that started up, you can kind of work your way around it.
Just keep on fishing it.
All right, so this is C3, and this is where most of the damage occurs in these. Oh yeah.
Wow. She got some good wear in it.
Yeah, good heat marks there. So yeah. So that's your backing plate. Clutch packs. Oh yeah, those are burnt.
Oh man. You did some damage here, boy.
Yeah, let me see that steel or friction. Yeah, she's done. There's actually a lip. You can kind of see it on the video. There's a lip in it. So, ooh, this is your C3 apply piston. So,
and that is everything in the case.
Yeah, down to a bare. Well. Sorry. That's garbage. I got a new one for that.
Look at this.
Yeah, look at that. Tons of clutch material. So, oh my goodness! God, dude. It's just going on the floor anyways.
Good God.
That's black.
It's supposed to be bright red.
Yeah, that's bad.
All right.
You don't want to see that.
Now we can start unplugging this stuff and.
Yep, we'll go ahead and unplug this and grab that harness out of there. There's a couple dowel pins that it sticks on that make it kind of difficult sometimes. Just pull up on it. It's coming.
There's a little bit extra help.
There it is.
Got one little tab hooked over here.
Yeah, it goes into that little. So let me actually show that. So there's a little guy right down there. And that's actually into the valve body, so you got to be careful. You got to kind of take it out almost at like an angle in a way. Of course, it slid back down on them dowels, didn't it?
Yep. The old trusty back out.
We'll get back with you in a minute.
All right, so now we're cleaning out the case. So make sure you get all real nice and clean. We're using brake clean. We'll make sure you get all inside of all the little gaps and spaces. All right, and then while he's cleaning that, we're gonna start taking a look into our input drum assembly. We're gonna take this snap ring out here, and once we get this snap ring out, this will all pop out of here, and then we'll go into that in more detail once we get to that point.
All right, guys, so it is the next day, and we got the case. We just cleaned that, and now we are gonna go ahead and take apart the. I'll just turn the camera around and show you guys. So this is the output housing, or something like that, one of those things. And this is actually two pieces. Doesn't really look like it, but there is two pieces in here. I already got it apart. This one doesn't come apart hard. There are other parts in there that we will show you that are a pain in the ass. But so this, just you pull this apart, and there is a way it has to orientate. And when you're, all you do here is you clean it, and then there's this O-ring here, and then that inner O-ring there. That's all you're doing with that. And you can see, actually, it does go a certain way, and you can kind of see. It's kind of, where are we at? There it is. All right, so you can see where it had rode its whole life, and that's that little corner there goes there. So that's just something to note when you're putting that back together. All right, so we're gonna start taking apart our input drum. We got a snap ring here. Had that started already, that's why that came apart so easy. Just kind of, we'll make a little pile right here for all this stuff. We'll start that, and then you can pull up on this gear here, and that comes out with it. Just kind of check for wear on some of these parts here. That's all right. That looks a lot worse than it is. It's pretty smooth yet. There's actually a thrust washer here that rides on. So that's all good there. And then this is your, what's that, a sun gear, I think they call that. So there's that. Sun gear's out. And then there's a bearing here. We'll leave that on that clutch hub. Clutch hub comes out, another bearing on the bottom side. And then there's a spacer plate. Oh wait, I lied. There's a little snap ring in there first before you pull that out. So I'm gonna get that started real quick. All right. That other snap ring kind of fought us a little bit, but then we got the back spacer plate. As soon as that comes out. And then this is C1.
Yeah, this little pack here is your C1. Get it out. We'll pull the C2 out first.
All these get replaced. Doesn't look that.
Some friction on there.
Yeah, it doesn't look that awful. They're pretty black. But yeah.
You see some wear marks there, but it's all right. Not terrible.
Not terrible in there. Okay.
All right, now take C1 out.
Definitely burn up a little bit.
Oh, look at the heat marks on that one.
Yeah, not that bad.
Let's get some blue in there.
Not as bad as this one here was.
All right.
So.
Just out of curiosity.
Wow, that last one's pretty bad. That last one's pretty burnt up.
Oh yeah, you did the number on that.
Yeah, a lot of heat through that one. Okay. And there's should be another little backing plate deal or another, yep. And then we got another snap ring in here.
Right here.
Where's that at?
Right there.
Yep, okay.
And once we do that, then we can pull this off.
Pull that input shaft off.
Record that. Ooh.
Whoa!
A little bit.
All right, once you get that snap ring off, that whole hub pops off of that input shaft. And we'll set that input shaft aside for later. Some of these Teflons.
rings here.
And
But you want to inspect this for any unusual wear marks. Looks pretty good.
Yep, looks all right. Just kind of.
Right there.
Dude, would you hurry up?
God damn it!
All right, snap ring. And just kind of move some shit around.
Put that right there.
And we got that's an apply piston, I believe. I don't know. They might have gave us a new one. They might not have. I don't.
No, I don't think so.
No. Okay.
But regardless,
Yeah. If you want.
shit's gonna have to get cleaned.
Yeah. This is pretty dirty. You see, it looks like there's little ribs in there. That's actually clutch material. Yeah, you can see it there. It's actually clutch material. So that's gonna have to get cleaned real good. Then we got a spring cage. All right, so you're gonna take that the whole drum assembly there, and this you can see here it looks like it separates. Well, it actually does. This piece comes out, and there's some seals and stuff in there you gotta replace. So what you're gonna do?
It's pressed in there.
Yeah, since we don't have any specialty tools, you're gonna come down here on this piece of wood, and you're just gonna sensibly beat it on the floor. just like that. So there's that seal there, and then there's an inner Teflon seal in there.
Look at all this clutch material.
Yeah, still a lot of, wow. That's, alrighty, so there's another snap ring, sits down in there.
This is spring loaded.
This part's spring loaded.
See if that'll pop loose. Oh.
Well, sometimes it comes out when it's popped, sometimes it don't. Come back down to your homemade press. Just like that. Now that is down to the bare drum. So same thing with this. There's some seals.
You gotta be careful with the Teflon ring.
That's on this one. All right, a couple little taps and it came apart. And there's a spring cage that sits behind that.
God damn.
There's just so much clutch material on all this. It's gonna take forever to clean up. Yeah, so we're gonna. I think that's about the end of the teardown. Yeah, that whole line right there is clutch material. So I think that. Yep. So that there case is clean. That the rear housing's pretty clean, so we got a lot of cleaning ahead of us here. But that's the teardown. So I went through this footage, and there's a lot of footage. It's gonna be a pretty long video. Well, you guys probably already know that if you're watching this. So get ready for part 2. We're gonna get all this stuff cleaned up off camera, and then we'll start putting it back together.